He's the youngest city councilman, and he is now hoping to become one of the youngest congressmen representing the 15th Congressional District. This morning, he's ahead of the pack, and as of right now, Ritchie Torres is ahead of Michael Blake and Ruben Diaz Sr. with 30% of the vote. The winner of this race will face Republican Orlando Molina in the general election. Councilman Torres is joining me now on the phone, and he is right now, Ritchie, you are the front runner. So this was a crowded field of 12 candidates. Good morning to you. You're in this top spot right now. I got to ask how you're feeling first and foremost this morning.
Well, first, I'm feeling exhausted. This was the craziest possible race at the craziest possible moment. As you know, at one point, I even contracted COVID-19 as a congressional candidate. But I'm proud of the campaign that I've run. I'm proud of the grassroots support that we had in the South Bronx. But I'm insistent that we have to count every ballot because any declaration of victory is premature before the counting of every vote.
Ritchie, I want to ask you first about what one of your opponents said earlier. We had Michael Blake on our air who was talking about some issues he heard with voters who were facing problems at the polls in terms of ballots. And he also said there was a problem with the absentee ballots, that some people didn't receive them in time to send them back in time. Have you heard those issues?
I've heard some. It's not clear to me that everyone who requested an absentee ballot received one. And so what we recommended to our supporters, if you did not receive an absentee ballot, please vote in person. Please go to the polls. Take proper precautions like face coverings. But we encourage people to go to the polls and not take for granted that the Board of Elections would send everyone an absentee ballot.
So how long do you think it'll actually take to declare a winner here?
Knowing the dysfunction of the Board of Elections, it can be interminable. I suspect July, by maybe mid to late July, we'll have a clear sense of who won. Again, I'm not prepared to declare victory, but it appears that I've established an overwhelming lead that's going to be hard to overcome.
You know, Ruben Diaz Sr., in fact, had a lot of name recognition going into this race. This morning, we're seeing that voters sent a very clear message. So what do you think that message is moving forward?
This was a change election, and I was a change candidate, and the voters cast their ballot for the next generation of leadership in the South Bronx. I'm poised to become the youngest person ever to represent the South Bronx, which has been ground zero for racially concentrated poverty. You know, the Bronx is my home, and I'm going to work my heart out to serve the constituents of the South Bronx. For me, it's the greatest possible honor.
Yeah, Councilman, I watched one of your interviews last night where you got choked up about it, right? You were actually saying, I would not be here if it were not for my mother and the work of my mother. Tell me a little bit about that journey of what your mother did to get you where you are.
My mother raised 3 children on minimum wage, which in the 1990s was $4.25 an hour. You know, I often tell people, imagine being a single mother in the most expensive city in America, raising 3 children on $4.25 an hour. And there are many mothers like mine who sacrifice, who do mission impossible so that their children can have a fighting chance at a decent life. And so before I'm Councilman Ritchie Torres and before I will become Congressman Ritchie Torres, I will always be the son of Deborah Bosselette. She is my hero. She is the reason I'm here. And she's my strongest and most unconditional supporter.
Very profound statement there. I'm sure she's very proud. Councilman, Councilman. Yep, Councilman. Tell me first. I
appreciate the Floridian flip.
Well, you know, if you do declare victory, what would be, in your eyes, the first thing you'd want to accomplish for the folks in the South Bronx, since it's a neighborhood you grew up in and spent so much time in?
Addressing the affordability crisis. I would want to see an expansion of the housing voucher program, which would ensure that New Yorkers in need pay no more than 30% of their income toward their rent. For me, it's the most powerful tool that we have for bringing greater affordability to the families who need it, because especially in the wake of COVID-19 and the economic recession that has followed from it, many families are on the verge of eviction. Many families are struggling to pay their rent and their bills and need income and rental assistance from the federal government. So that would be my first priority.
Councilman Ritchie Torres, I do appreciate your time this morning, and we will wait to see the official results once those absentee ballots come in. There are about 40,000 ballots, I understand, that have been mailed out and need to be counted. Like you said, it could take a lengthy amount of time. So we will wait to see the final results. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Dan. Take care.
All right.